Yes. Good afternoon and welcome. It's Wednesday and what a beautiful day. And we're so happy to be here again. And I want to thank everybody for staying home, staying safe, social distancing. We're going to flatten the curve. We understand that, how devastating COVID-19 is. So together we will achieve and conquer COVID-19 as we move forward. So thank you for joining me today. And we're so delighted to explore an industry that, really a lot of us have no clue what goes on behind the scenes, but we certainly enjoy all the wonderful productions we get to see on whole vast of social media platforms from movie theaters. So today with us, Michael Peterson, our own Alberta-grown Michael Peterson, award-winning filmmaker. So take a look at one of Michael's projects. And Michael, we're so happy that he's here today.
Can't even get a signal out here.
You said you were dropping off a boy. I see a full-grown working man here.
You'd be good.
We'll be back before you know it.
Get to work. Go over to the shed and get us some wood.
Want wood?
Who are you?
With this hand, I want you to come right over the top. You did good today, son.
Grandpa.
I need to call my parents.
Storm. Once it starts, the phones go down. Looks like we'll be going to a funeral. I'll make us up some soup and sandwiches, huh?
Right! The boy is smart. Real smart.
Henry, come out!
It's just a game, and you can so good.
Hi, Henry. We'll just have to have some fun.
Okay. Please welcome Michael Peterson. Okay, listen, Michael, that looks incredible, but hello, welcome, Michael. I'm so delighted that you're here, and I can't wait for you to tell us what's going on in your industry and all about the wonderful projects that you have been working on. And please welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, Sally. I'm a Calgary-based filmmaker. I shot that film in Edmonton, and I've actually shot a whole bunch of films in Edmonton. It's just the way the industry tends to work here, where you're not as bound by the geography of the city you're in, and you tend to make things in the province and collaborate with people across the province and across the country and internationally. So a project like that one, for example, which if you're in Canada, you can find it on Crave, and if you're in the States, you can find it. It's on a lot of different providers, VOD providers, and a couple other places. Behind the scenes, you have a crew of about 30 to 40 people that are making that happen. Plus, you have your cast that you see on screen. So from the technicians who operate the cameras, to setting up the lights, to doing wardrobe, to doing effects, to stunt work, to production design and making the locations work, or building sets in warehouses. There's a lot of different components to making a film, which I'm not sure everyone is always aware of. So every time there's a film, there's always a whole bunch of people on the other side of the camera that you can't see. And on a smaller budget show, it could be, anywhere from 18 to 25. And then on a larger budget show, you could be upwards of 100 crew members that are working on that show and making their living from film.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people that work for a long period of time to make this happen. So you have all the preparation time. First you have the time it takes to write the script and to get that into place. Then you have all the prep time where you're casting the film and coming up with the design ideas and working with your team to set everything in motion, location scouting, designing colors and looks and things like that. And then you go and shoot the project. And then you're in editing for, anywhere from 3 months to 12 months, finishing your project before you send it out, typically to festivals. And then, anywhere from 3 months to 12 months or 18 months after that, then it becomes available to the public, is sort of a typical pathway for one of these films. I've made a conscious decision to locate myself in Calgary and Alberta because I love living here. And it's, I can have a great quality of life. I can have my house and my family, and we're close to the mountains and all that. And there's really good crew to work with here, people that I've worked with on many, many, many projects. And you're typically flying cast in anyway, so that doesn't necessarily matter where you're located as much for names anyways, for the name cast. And I should also mention that I've got my COVID haircut that my kids
I love it. I was going to remark about the haircut. How did you manage to have your haircut?
Well, the kids have clippers, and they asked if they could cut my hair, and I said, go for it, do it ever you want. So they gave me a kind of uneven mohawk.
Well, thank them for grooming you for this. This is great. It looks fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, the apocalyptic haircut. So industry-wise, in Alberta, it's been rough here. It was rough here prior to the pandemic and the self-isolating. The government had frozen the tax grant system,
right,
which is in place in pretty much every jurisdiction in Canada and internationally, minus some of the states. So it's been frozen for the last while. So it's been difficult to make projects before this, or at least make projects here prior to this. So a whole bunch of people were getting poached from Alberta or from Calgary and Edmonton and being taken to other jurisdictions where they've got a huge demand and they're doing, 30, 40 productions at one time in a place like Vancouver. So we were already losing the crew, and then this, no one's working right now since the pandemic because you have so many people in close quarters, actors that are working together, and cannot be 6 feet apart when they're doing a scene together.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, no one knows what's going on other than the production pipeline has essentially stopped. It's just stopped, come to a halt. So unless you're in post-production on a project, there's no new projects being greenlit. I heard that Denmark has just announced that they have a plan to continue production. I don't know if they've started that plan yet or if they've just sort of announced the guidelines for how they plan to operate in the current conditions. But essentially everything stopped and nothing is being made. So there's going to be a big hole in production, and we just don't know how big of a hole that is. And then Alberta with the way they've changed, because they changed they reintroduced the tax credits and then changed them.
Was that in the last year, Michael?
Yeah, it took about a year for them to come forward with that. So basically all the projects that were trying to get up during that 12-month period, they were unable to go forward. So for example, I had a couple of projects. One was a project with a US producer, a horror film by, a well-known author, or based on a well-known author's book. that they wanted to do here, or they were looking at doing here, and they were asking me for information regarding the tax credits. And I was like, I can't actually tell you anything because I don't know. They've changed it, but they haven't announced how they're changing it. And no one's going to come here from out of town and do those things when they don't have that kind of security in their financing plans. So we're just sort of sorting that out. I know a couple of people that have gone through the current provincial tax credit system. But again, everything's stopped because you can't make anything, because you can't set dates for when you would start a production. Right now I've got, there's 3 projects that I'm trying to do in Alberta, which I hope to do in Alberta. And I don't know if I'll be able to do all of them here or any of them here, because it'll depend on a whole bunch of elements, but probably the most important one will be how they set up the tax credit, because they've made it so it's the minister has to approve them specifically based on content, but that's a very arbitrary sort of qualitative aspect that you can't sort of understand or control until you submit, and then if they say no, then you're going to be going somewhere else.
I've always believed that Alberta is one of the most fantastic places to make films. And I'm not sure how far back it was, but I thought that there was a time many, many years ago when, the tax credits that were in place encouraged people to come from all over to film incredible movies a lot of us have seen, and television shows. So, and there's an awful lot of talent in Alberta. I mean, you're evidence of that. And what I heard you say earlier is, you're flying in like the name cast anyway, but it sounds like all the other talent that you need is in Alberta. Is this correct?
Yeah, we certainly have we certainly have all that stuff, but sort of every time something like that happens, the situation prior to the pandemic, we were starting to lose crew. So, for example, a camera crew that I might typically work with in Edmonton, none of those people were working there anymore. They were all pretty much in Vancouver. So I had to bring people up from Calgary to work in Edmonton, which is kind of crazy considering I know those people were there, 12 months or 18 months prior to that. So it's one of those situations that's frustrating.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one reason for that is that we tend to be a sort of a one business sort of province, which is typically a bad strategy for just about anything when you rely on only one item to sort of deliver all of your economy.
But in any robust economy, whether it's dependent on oil and gas, there are sectors of it that are an absolute must, and arts and entertainment, right, for our growth and well-being is very, very important.
Well, sure, and especially now when everyone's stuck at home, I mean, how much more shows, movies, etc. are people watching? I know I'm talking to some of the sales companies right now, and I have an idea on what the uptick is. Someone's sending me a report on something this afternoon, so I'll see exactly how it worked on this one project. But it's phenomenal. But it's also, what we need to kind of keep ourselves sane, show, sort of the human condition and see that we're not alone. And it functions in a whole bunch of ways that are very, very important to, just our mental and social well-being.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I look back and I think of everything, I mean, the movies and TVs have really always inspired us. And whether we quantify it or not, it does drive a lot of what we do in our day-to-day lives and in our businesses. And, you can get a lot of pretty cool ideas from movies and TV shows, trust me. I mean, because today I find that even the TV series, in terms of content and continuity and the research they do, is pretty accurate, right? Oh, hello, who is this?
This is Christoph and the new puppy.
Oh my Guys, oh my gosh, everybody needs a new puppy, Dan. Look at this. How old is this puppy?
12 weeks, maybe?
12 weeks. And what did we name this puppy? Come.
Loki.
Loki. Loki. That's right, Loki. You know, one of my favorite series is Vikings.
That's right. All right, let's.
Is that Loki? Is he named after Loki from that series?
No, not from the series, just in the general sense, because it's half Pomeranian, and I was just looking up where Pomeranians originally came from.
Okay.
And they come from Iceland before they were bred in Germany.
Right.
So I thought I'd pay some homage to, just part of this dog's heritage.
To the heritage.
Yeah, and we were just trying to come up with names.
Dog. So is Loki male or female?
Male.
Cool. Well, I'm sure that he's getting spoilt.
I'm sure he is. He's got all the kids here to play with him all day long.
Oh dear. Well, it's this industry that you're in is. I don't think that a lot of us realize, how much passion you need to start and take it to what we see on the screen. And I've had a little bit of appreciation for it because our daughter, of course, aspired to be a director and attended the Vancouver Film School. So a little bit, right? And then over the years, being exposed to people like yourself and other people from the past, right? It's an incredible platform that you have, and it's always disappointing to me that a lot of great projects, fall by the wayside. They don't get made for a lack of funding, a lack of an environment. For example, like I said, I'm going to have to Google how far back, but Alberta used to be a terrific place with, tax credits encouraging a lot of great films, right? One of my favorite movies, and everybody remembers when Brad Pitt was in town.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And another one that was filmed in Calgary, wasn't it? The Legends of the Falls. So, I mean, that seems like a generation ago, right? So
yeah, probably, hey?
Still Anthony Hopkins is a favorite. And for all these people to grace our province, and I think they love working here, personally. I'm sure they do. What's not to love about this incredible environment? And there have been, a lot of very incredible films made, in the mountains of Calgary. And I think that when I first met you, I told you, I grew up with Saturday afternoons. It was a black and white Western. So, I mean, I love Western. Don't ask me why, but it must be that lonesome cowboy thing. So, in terms of COVID-19, and you mentioned that, it takes 30 or 40 people, so it's pretty tough to distance folks. How do you see this industry that you're in, or these films that you're already on, your drawing board? For example, that trailer that I saw, one of my favorite actors is Michael Ironside. Yep. That's Michael Ironside in Knuckleball, correct?
Yeah, him and I are actually putting together a new project that we're looking at filming in Edmonton, where we shot that one. And he's shot a lot of films in Alberta over the years, going back, to the very beginning of his career. So we've got a sort of a revenge thriller that we're working on, trying to bring out here. So that's one of those projects that I mentioned where we'll see, if we can make it work here, or if we have to go to Winnipeg, or if we have to go to Vancouver to make it. I want to make it here because I love making stuff here, and I love the crews that I work with here, and I love giving them jobs, and I trust them, and they do a great job. They're really skilled artists and craftspeople. So my hope is we can make it work. But in terms of the runway for when stuff is going to start happening again, no one knows. There's, basically all the industry people that I talk with across the world over a week, about these various projects. I know they're all trying to line something up for as soon as it's production becomes a possibility again, because they're probably very nervous about not having, new projects to sell and program or broadcast. So the response in that side has been great, because people have time to read scripts and get back to you quickly and sort of assess projects. It's just the one part of it where no one knows when we'll actually be able to get up and running again. My prediction, and it isn't really based on much other than a feeling, is that we'll be up and running between September and November, and at least be able to get some sort of semblance of production going again. It'll probably be the smaller types of shows. This project will be. So
I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
All right.
But this is the project that's on. Is Black Horse Hill?
Yep.
Did I read correctly that it was a very violent revenge thriller?
Correct.
So,
exactly
lately, I mean, is there a resurgence for this type of genre? I mean, horror movies and, I guess maybe you can explain this, but it seems to have made a very popular comeback from the Freddy days, right? So,
yeah, I mean, this is more like a revenge thriller than a horror film.
Okay.
But it is very violent. I think revenge is a fairly universal theme going back to biblical times with the two brothers.
True.
So I don't think that'll ever go out of fashion. The hard part is to find a new way to tell these stories.
Okay, so this is not a horror story, but it's a thriller. It makes you think.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
So at what stage is this production? Where are you at? Just on the drawing board with this, or you've already cast it? I think, are you co-producing this with Michael?
yeah, he's going to come on board as a producer, and he's most likely going to play the lead role as well. So right now we're in the financing stage. So we're talking with UK partners because it will be a UK-Canada co-production, and then seeing what it'll look like on the financing plan to make it here or in a different province. And then talking to some other cast about coming on board. We have a couple of names softly attached at this point, so I won't mention their names until those commitments are a little bit more firm.
Well, I read the premise of this, and I'm kind of excited to see who you cast in the female lead role. That can make or break the film.
There's some pretty exciting names on the table.
I can make some suggestions. I mean, there's some powerful gals out there, right? So
yeah, absolutely. We've got great actors in sort of the 65 to 70-year-old range, right? That wouldn't necessarily normally be cast in this type of a role or this type of a film, but they're just fantastic actors, and they're going to bring something really special and unique to it. And, they bring their artistic skills to it, and we work together and we make something really exciting.
Well, one thing I know about experience, right, in any industry, it's bankable and you can trust it.
That's right.
And my biggest word through all of this, the last several weeks, I think we all have to continue to surround ourselves with people we trust. You mentioned that before about your crew and all the people behind the scenes. You've worked with people, and it's working together and trusting, right? What works. So yeah, I would love to see. So what is it you think that we could do to bring more attention to what's needed, and how do we move Alberta to the point where I think many years ago it was people loved coming here to make films and TV shows. I know Vancouver is the hot spot, right? You mentioned Vancouver.
Well, pretty much every other jurisdiction is the hot spot.
Okay, other than here.
Yeah, other than here in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan killed their credits 3 years ago, and they might have made one film there in the last year or two, but not really anything else. They were always a fairly small to medium-sized market. Alberta is probably more on the medium-sized market when it's working at its capacity. Last year they shot Ghostbusters here, which must have employed a few hundred people, I would imagine.
Right.
So those kind of big tentpole movies, when they come here, are great because the crews get to work with whoever they're bringing from, the States or wherever their other crew are coming from. They get to learn from these people and develop and push their own skill set and see how these other people work and pick up some new tricks. And then they bring them onto the more of the size of shows, which I tend to do, which are not the size of a Ghostbusters. They're a smaller project that originates here creatively, and then we take it out to the world, and we've had some really great success with that over the last 5 years.
Do you, so can you explain, if you could, for the general population, right, encouraging this to happen? I mean, how do Albertans benefit from this? I mean, other than the immediate ones that we can think of, but by creating jobs and employing people. But I think there has to be far-reaching benefits to a province to develop its arts and entertainment industry.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always the intangible elements that are part of that. Someone makes a film and it gets out there and it does really well and it's shot here. From the industry to the fan side, they look at this project and they're like, oh, that looks like a beautiful place, or how did they make that film there, or I want to make a film and it's got this kind of a feel to it. Maybe I should make it with the people that made this film in Alberta. Or I think Heartland seems to have some success with this, from what I understand, where tourists actually come here, visit Alberta, because they want to see the land where Heartland is shot, because it's it's very Albertan and showcases the geography is a really important element of that show, and the horse culture and all that, right?
Well, exactly. And for me, when I think about it, right, and I may be a little different, right, but I'm always looking at, I look at the credits, and then I always go, wow, look how many people it took to do that.
Yeah, I know.
First and foremost, I'm always looking to see where it was filmed on location or whatever. Right. And whenever I see it's filmed in Calgary, Alberta, or I see Edmonton or something, right? It's a bit of pride. And for me, I think it's another way to expose our province to the world, right? So there's lots of benefits exposing Alberta continually. I mean, that's one way. It's promotion and marketing. How many years ago Legends of the Fall was shot, right? I actually Googled that. Yeah. But it's been a while, and
it's 10 or 15 years, I'm sure, right?
Oh, maybe longer. I don't know. We'll have to check that. But I think it was longer. But I mean, so proud, right? And then there was a very recent one, I think, what was the name? I can't remember off the top of my head, that was filmed. Who was the famous? Was it Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, The Revenant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was filmed in Calgary and Canmore and all of that. How thrilling was that? It was.
Yeah, it's great. And, it gave people a lot of chance to work on a show that's going to support them for a long time. Yeah. Some of the other, tertiary benefits are the people that are coming into town for that, or the people that are, from one area of Alberta and staying in another area. They're staying at hotels. They're eating at the local restaurants. They're drinking at the local bars. They're buying hoodies or whatever.
Everybody's looking for a peekaboo view. It's a famous actor. I do remember when Brad Pitt and Angelina they were here.
Yeah.
This goes back. It feels like 2000 and maybe it was 6 or 7 or somewhere in there. Maybe it was later, and they were here to. We're filming at Edmonton, Fort Edmonton, and
right. Well, the assassination of Jesse James.
That's it. And I was, I did get a call from someone that said they were the assistant, and I sent a few properties because they had found me on my website with the houses, and and sent some suggestions as to some things that could provide them with safety, security, and privacy. So that was thrilling. And then the most thrilling call I received was from a reporter for the National Enquirer. Hello. But as I said, well, I'm not at liberty to disclose anything, right? Because the whole thing is, they want their privacy and stuff. So, but I mean,
trying to bribe you?
That brings attention, to the city, right? I mean, you're talking to the National Enquirer and reporters, but I think that, so what I'm hearing you say is right now there are really, no one's come up with a solution on how to move forward in making anything that requires human interaction I know that a lot of people, maybe cartoons and things like that, maybe
Right.
they're working virtually to make new
Yeah,
things for us
like-
to watch.
the ideas that have floated around are to sort of work more in shifts, spend an hour at the beginning of each day to sanitize and check temperatures, various ideas like that. But until you can get insurance to make your production, you're not going to be able to make your production, because you can't put yourself into that type of liability situation.
So that's the big thing, right? Insuring the project, putting insurance in place.
That's the big sort of representation of the thing. I mean, the real thing is safety, of course, but that's how it's expressed in a business environment.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's really interesting. Well, the thing is, I hope that everybody is making plans for the future, because I mean, we will eventually move forward and have to get back to some new normal, as they're calling it, and how we move forward with some of these fantastic projects. And I just wanted you to know that, I mean, there are a few of us, we really do appreciate new content, new things to inspire us, make us stop and think. And eventually, we're gonna run out. We're gonna get tired of reruns.
That's it. Yeah. So hopefully, if all goes well, and we can come up with a plan to satisfy insurance, and the other countries are, that we're going to be partnering with, are operational in the same capacity, hopefully we'll be shooting this film in November.
That will be wonderful.
But there's
I'm hoping that you're filming it here.
I want to film it there, so I'm hopeful too. And then you and I and Mr. Ironside can go out and have a coffee.
That would be wonderful. Wow. I look forward to that. And then, I might send you my suggestions for who you should cast as lead one. But there's so many phenomenal actresses. Right?
I'm always open to these ideas, so yeah, send them over.
Oh, look at this, right? This looks fantastic. So the film that we showed earlier, the trailer, Knuckleball, has that been released? It said October. Where can we see that?
In Canada, it's on Crave.
On Crave?
Yeah, or
Okay.
iTunes. Might be on a couple other sites, but Crave is how most people are watching it.
All right. Well, I have a subscription to Crave, so I'll be watching that for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you have in post-production that we should be thinking about watching for? I thought you had a couple of things.
Yeah, there's a werewolf film that we're just in the middle of cutting. So I don't know when that will be done exactly, but the editing stage has been healthy and robust. So
okay.
We'll probably be locked on the picture in the next month or so.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And then another film that's just come out in Canada in the last little while is a film called Harpoon.
Harpoon?
Yeah. And this is a film that I produced with a really good filmmaker that I collaborate with a lot, named Rob Grant. And this film kind of was a bit of a hit out there in the world.
So where do you do most of your casting? Is it locally, or?
It always depends on the project. Oftentimes it starts on some level with someone we know,
right?
Or going through someone we know, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's a main character, but that's usually at least a conversation. After sort of that happens internally, one way to move forward is you hire a casting director, who's the person that sort of,
right.
You might send them a list of who you're thinking for each role with a character description, and they might approach the people on your list, and they might have their own suggestions of actors you didn't think of, but would be great in the role and gettable within the budget that you have.
So I'm going backwards for a second. The film that you are working on with Michael Ironside, that project, is it okay for me to ask what the budget for this film is, or is that something that's Sorry.
It'll be
Okay.
it'll be somewhere between 1 and 2.5 million.
Okay. All right. And so typically, would 50% of that be private equity money and the rest of it from, or is it all private?
No, it's not all private. There's sort of different financing scenarios you can put together based on what you're able to pull together for pre-sales.
Mhm.
If you want to do pre-sales, because you might have a strategy or access to equity that where you decide that it's better to not get pre-sales if you're able to get them. There's some broadcast licenses you can get sometimes in Canada. So it's a series of different, there might be 5 items. Telefilm is another source for funding at times.
Right.
So, it might be anywhere from, say, 20 to 55% that you're trying to fill.
With respect to Black Horse Hill,
Yeah.
Majority of the funding secured. It's just a question of moving forward with after COVID.
There's one piece that I'm waiting for. There's one funding body that I'm approaching.
Okay.
That will be a fair chunk of the budget if that works out. So we'll see, but so far we've had really great response to the project. There's a fair number of international sales companies that are strongly interested, and they express that interest in funding, essentially.
Well, it's pretty thrilling. So, and I would imagine if we had, better tax credits in Alberta, right?
Yeah, well, the tax credits themselves are not bad. Like, they're pretty good.
Are they?
It's
Okay.
just that they've changed they essentially froze them for a year. So it was very difficult for any new productions to happen over that 12-month period.
Any particular reason that we froze them? Do you know? Was there any?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, we might have to unthaw that then.
Well, they've unfrozen them now, but now we can't.
You can't do them, right?
We can't do them. So.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So then it's a question of perhaps maybe some of our friends in other countries who are looking at reopening and how to do that. Perhaps we can learn from them and how they're moving forward, right? Post COVID-19. So. Yeah,
exactly. And then, sorry to go back to the tax credits. They've changed a couple of the elements to make it less predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And your film is such a high risk.
Right. Well, it is
environment to begin with. That any of the pieces that are predictable are looked upon very favorably, because whatever you can sort of put down and have in the control category is a real positive thing in financing. So they've just added a couple of things where they've made it less quantitative, because it really, in my opinion, the government shouldn't have any say over the type of content that's being made.
True.
And why one type of project should be made over another.
Or another.
And I don't mean that in the sense of, like, if you're doing porn shoots, maybe you shouldn't qualify.
True.
You know what I mean? But in general, if you're just making a movie, like,
right.
I don't need to agree with it politically or otherwise. Just make your movie and, spend your money and hire your crew.
Well, it comes back to freedom of expression and freedom of speech, as long as it doesn't, degrade society, right? But I think there's going to be an awful lot of incredible stories post-COVID too, right? Of perseverance and survival and all kinds of things. So I think your industry is going to have an awful lot of subject matters to explore in the future.
And there's going to be people racing to get to production first.
True.
Because I think the first wave out is going to enter the market in a much more favorable way than the second wave, where more people have started making their shows, and there might be a glut in the market.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're vying for all of us and our attention. I mean, more and more, everybody, I think, I don't know what the minimum age is, but everybody got some form of visual, right? Audio-visual equipment. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been really, really wonderful of you to take the time to be here with us today. And I think we have your website up, and yeah, there it is on display.
Cool.
And someone's calling. It's hopefully they're opening up their checkbooks, Michael.
That's what
right. It's not what it is. Come on, right? You know, we have to move forward and help and assist, and together. I always say every day, everyone achieves more together. So we have to make all these films. We have, I think, the trailer for Knuckleball. So if you're okay with us playing that, we're going to do that right now.
Do you want to play the trailer for Harpoon?
Sure. Or is it? Yeah, we have the trailer for Harpoon. I'm sorry. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great movie.
Okay, there we go. I got it wrong. It's the trailer for Harpoon.
You know, I see a lot of movie trailers use these big, bold review quotes like tense as hell, or hilarious masterpiece, or even outlandish ones like best movie ever made. And it made me wonder, does anyone actually check the source of these quotes? Because if not, well then f*** it. Harpoon is all the above and more. Fantastic, amazing. The people that made this are f***ing genius. Best boat movie ever. Better than Titanic.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, maybe not better than Titanic, but it's pretty f***ing good.
Whoa. Okay, and so this is now streaming on Crave just before the voting season.
No, this one I think in Canada is on iTunes and Google Play.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. iTunes and Google Play. Okay, yep. Cool. I have it.
And it's got, it's gotten great reviews in the New York Times and the Hollywood Reporter and the LA Times. And
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it had a great. It's played sort of all over the world, from Poland to Amsterdam to Chattanooga to South America.
See, so that's the other thing that your industry, the movie industry, and the film industry does for a lot of us who can no longer physically, for a long time, travel and moving forward in the future, but you can bring it all right to us, in front of us, in the comfort of our home, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure about the theaters in the upcoming future, but right now I know
I'm trying to get a friend here to set up a drive-in.
I said that to my husband 4 weeks ago because that idea, the church, you were driving up and you can hear the minister. I go, drive-ins are fantastic.
Yeah. The last week, there was, the box office that usually gets reported in the newspaper.
Right.
Last week, the box office for all of the United States came from one drive-in theater somewhere in the South, I think Florida.
Right.
And it was like, so the box office for that week was this small little film, I think it's called Swallow, but small relative to like a big studio film. Right. And it was the box office winner at, $3,000 or something like that.
Drive-ins. Who doesn't like drive-ins? The only thing in Alberta, though, the sun stays up pretty late in the summer, but that's okay.
I know. We have to start it now and do it on like the side of a Walmart or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of empty buildings and empty parking lots right now.
So technology has changed to allow it to be basically streamed, as you say, on the side of a Walmart building. Yes?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I mean, what most things run off of now is a digital cinema print or a DCP.
Okay.
It's not the big, film reel of 35 that you would typically ship around. So now most of the deliveries are digital to the theaters, and then they play off of digital projectors.
Wow. But the one thing about the drive-in, though, the best seats in the house were the front seats of the vehicle. And most vehicles now only have 2 seats, so that's okay. I'm not sure how we take the children to see a Disney movie right? Streaming on the side of a building, but we'll figure it out. But maybe we can have movies in the park. Many, many years ago, I explored bringing this big giant screen from the US to do movies in a Harlack Park. And the concern people had was the quality, but it worked. It was amazing. It does work.
The technology is available and fairly easy to get. So
that's cool.
Not a crazy idea.
Well, there's lots of creative ideas that we can get people back doing this. So hey, I hope you have time in the future that we can talk about that. The future meaning soon. Remember, the future is day by day now. So, Michael, in closing, is there anything you'd like us to think about when it comes to your industry as we move forward day by day?
This is an industry that I think it's been up to 2 years ago. It was up to about $400 million spending around 2018, 2019. And then, then it got sort of nixed down to very little. Probably 30 million or 40 million, I would think.
Wow.
And it's an industry that's easy to grow, doesn't have any real infrastructure costs. And I think it's something that we could definitely utilize in Alberta. There's also lots of transferable skills from the oil industry and oil workers. So there's probably a natural fit for it here if there's the political desire to make it happen.
Well, then we maybe need to keep talking about this for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
400 million to 30 million.
Something like that. It was a drastic drop. So don't quote me on the numbers, but that
it's more or less. I get the reduction.
Yeah, and we could easily be in sort of the $500 million space in the next, when things open up again, within 12 months after that, I think.
Well, it seems like we need to put things into perspective and in place. I have a few friends who have passion for this industry, so I think maybe we need to rally these people together, don't you think?
I'd love to. Let me know how I can help.
Okay. Well, I have your number on speed dial.
Call anytime.
I want to thank you so much. I always enjoy chatting with you, and I appreciate you taking the time. And I can see that you're enjoying your family, and now the weather's changed. I'm sure Calgary is beautiful too, like Edmonton.
Oh, man. Is it ever making a difference mentally?
Working together. So, we look forward to getting to know you better. And by all means, I'm going to be watching these movies. You gave us 2 to watch, and we're going to post those on here. So one's on Crave, and Harpoon's on iTunes and Google.
Yeah,
so,
and I'll just mention one other one because these ones are a little bit more intense.
Right.
So the one has a lot of comedy in it. Is a show that's on CBC Gem called Ming's Dynasty. And it's more of a straight comedy with an aspiring rapper who moves back to his town in Coaldale to help run the family's Chinese restaurant.
Cool.
And his rapping partner goes back with him, and they run the family restaurant while they continue to try to work on their hip hop career.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really fun show.
Well, who doesn't like oh my gosh, here. Too cool. Okay, so maybe we can pop up something on that. We're allowed to play that. We're going to share the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Oh, fantastic. And in small town Alberta, we all grew up with situations like this. Absolutely. Somebody's got to come home and run this business.
Right now, we love you the sex. We're never leaving.
I gotta go home and cool down. ASAP.
Yo, back in Alberta? Yo, I'm coming with you, dog.
We're rappers from Toronto. White wine, young Riesling.
What brings you back to the 403?
Helping out with the family biz for a little while.
You work at the restaurant.
Yay. So nice to have family together.
Do not embarrass me with your Toronto rap.
We just gotta acknowledge the ancestors whose sacred land we gathered on here tonight.
Yeah.
Coaldale loves white wine, babe! People are listening to our music. What's going on?
I gotta take care of my fam. You're my fam.
Fam. Man's got an idea.
Wow.
Stop.
It's Michael, it's such an incredible industry, and I don't think people really realize how important it is and how vast it is, right? I think in one of my last conversations with you, I brought up the Bollywood industry in India. Like, look at that, hey, whoa. But no, and I think that since there's so many different platforms, there has to be such a need for more content, more shows, more everything. So it sounds like in Alberta, we're going to be starting from square one as we encourage this industry to grow to $500 million. And I like saying it because now $1 billion, listen, it's easy to say, right? Every day we're hearing billions and billions and trillions, right?
I know. They're making these shows, whether we're making our own shows or people are bringing their shows here. We should, get them to get that money spent here.
Okay, well, we're going to be creating more and more jobs, right? Isn't that what it's about? So yeah, we're focused on developing and building infrastructure, manufacturing, and developing the arts and entertainment industry in Alberta. Okay, so we must lose sight of that, right? So I think there's about 5 areas that I think that we need to focus on, and that includes the arts and entertainment industry too. Okay,
it's big business.
It's huge business, and it's a safe and comfortable place to live, work, breathe, and develop.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for being here today, Michael. And
yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Together, we're going to achieve a lot more. So stay in touch, and thank you for providing me with new content to watch. Right?
Yeah, let me know how you like it.
I will, and absolutely. And I imagine all of this is on, some of your past works are on YouTube as well. You have a YouTube page. Is that correct?
I don't know. You can find it. It's easy, and I'm easy to get a hold of on Facebook and whatnot. So.
All right. Well, super. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Good luck, and we'll be in touch. I mean it.
Thanks, Belly.
One person can make a difference. So now there's 2 of us. So we'll add a couple more.
I'm in.
Okay. All the best. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye.
And so that was actually, for me, very educational. That's incredible. I mean, I'm always proud whenever I see that, filmed somewhere, as I said before. But it's an industry maybe we need to look at. And as Michael said, perhaps there's a crossover from, oil and gas to that too. So we need to look at all the areas that we can develop and grow, create work, and showcase our province. Our province is so beautiful. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And if you didn't join us live, as you know, this will stay on Facebook and it's on YouTube. So please log on and go to Crave and have a look at Michael's film that's playing on Crave, as well as Harpoon, he says, is on iTunes and Google. And then Ming's Dynasty, set in Coaldale, Alberta. That looks really like a lot of fun. So laughter and escapism right now, it makes a big difference for us. So thank you all for joining me today. Okay, and thank you all. I know that it's getting long and very difficult for all of us but we are playing an important role by staying home, social distancing, and understanding, this very, very destructive virus. And it's going to be with us, I believe, for quite some time. So we still have to be very careful and keep ourselves safe, including our family, friends, our children, our grandchildren. we know enough about this virus that we can, implement things and stay safe. All I can say, wash your hands, right? When you have to venture out, if you have a mask is not the end all or the be all, but it may reduce the transmission, right, of this virus. And we shall continue to hope and encourage all of the researchers and the medical doctors and everyone at ground level working on to find a vaccine for this horrible, horrible virus. And so, but we also need to figure out ways to move forward. As you heard from Michael, Denmark is talking about implementing some ways to open up their film industry. I think that a lot of people are as well at other industries. So we will move forward, but with protocols in place, and we all need to take responsibility for our health and welfare. And we need to, as employers of small, medium, or large businesses, we need to implement safety protocols to keep our employees and our customers and ourselves safe as we move forward. But we have to start thinking about how we intend to do this. So thank you for joining me again today. And from beautiful Edmonton, Alberta, enjoy the sunshine. Do get out and walk and breathe, but stay, social distancing is a good thing. Let's help flatten the curve. We shall see you here live tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And we have a special episode on Friday at 1 o'clock when we will introduce you to an integral part of our society, our pets, our dogs, man's best friend, and how some of the essential services that take care of our dogs and look after their well-being while a lot of people are essential workers having to work. So join me on Friday at 1 o'clock when we shall feature this wonderful thing. It's a feel-good thing, and it's I'm always excited to see these wonderful animals, right, that love us unconditionally. So join us on Friday, and make it a great day. Thank you. Take care. And remember, Albert Einstein says, in the middle of difficulty, right, lies opportunities. So we will move forward, develop new ways to do things. So those are the opportunities that we have for ourselves. Make a plan, stick to a routine, and we shall see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye for now.